Hey, good morning, and welcome to part two, you guys. Um, so we're just going to continue where we left off. I think this is where we were. We talked about this, the mechanical stamp placed upon the earth, which is God's people, God's humans, God's creation. In the Bible, you begin to understand that our bodies are soil. You get this from vessels of clay being made from the clay. It talks about it several different places in the Bible that our bodies are soil, formed out of the dust. Um, what you see above then is a manipulation of that earth. Okay, it comes down to not only Earth as a planet, as we can easily see, this is all over, but it also comes down to Earth as in our bodies as well. It reflects the same thing, this mechanical, unrecognizable saturation of concrete, wire, metal, buildings, all these different things. That's the hijack. That's the takeover of creation. Daniel even tells us that in Daniel 2:43, when saw the iron mixed with the miry clay should mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they should not cleave to one another, as iron does not mix with clay. So these things are not supposed to go together that the way they are. It's this goes so deep. It not only talks about like meteoric iron and iron in the body and fusing the angelic wicked kingdom with humanity. It goes so deep. I know sometimes I've said these things in other videos. The Lord has just placed it on me that keep iterating, keep reiterating. So I know it sounds kind of redundant for some of you, but this is not for just you. It's for people who want to know, and this might be the only video they see. So it's important to get them the message. They will mingle with the seed of men, the iron and clay, metal and flesh, just as we see the pictures up above. Which was once recognizable is now no longer recognizable at all. And this also will reflect humanity. It does not simply end with the mark of the beast. Okay, yes, that is the end of your choice line. When that mark is accepted, and from what I've seen in dreams and other people, this mark will not be hidden. You will know what you are taking when you do take this mark. It's not that's the beginning of torment. That's the beginning. That's the control factor. Just as Jesus marks his people and talks about that in Revelation, where he seals on the forehead his people, so too these people will be sealed. Their choice will be final. That'll be made. That's it. That's a done deal. Your allegiance is now been finalized. And with that is a control factor. They can do with you whatever they want. Now, is there going to be a honeymoon factor? I believe there will be. So just as Jesus marries the church and there's the consummation or honeymoon or whatever you want to call it, this blissful relationship, let me put it in perspective this way. So when I got born again in 2012, for a couple of years, it was just absolutely amazing walk. It was, questions were being answered. He was speaking to me daily, almost like instant prayers answered, or prayers answered instantly. There was just so much. I was overwhelmed by just the love of God and how powerful it really was. I believe the enemy's going to do something similar. Once that mark is taken, disease will no longer be a factor for you. You'll be athletic. You'll be at great health. Nothing will touch you. Nothing will bother you. But then there will come a time, as God's people are tested, it's going to flip, and you're no longer, because how else will he get other people to get the mark? There's got to be a selling period or a period of time where it's so not only needed because of food, water supply, but also because of the honeymoon period that people are experiencing, and will try to talk their friends into it. I had a dream of this, and I don't know the time length of how long. I assumed it was weeks. I don't know. Could be weeks, could be months, could be years. I don't think it'd be too long, but it'll be a period of time where there will be like, you need to get this. I can't believe you're not doing this. And but that's going to be your allegiance, and from that point on, your say so has no regard of what's going to happen to you or your body. Your soul's already condemned. There's nothing you can do at this point. So I believe that that's going to open up a lot of doors for the enemy to just totally manipulate the soil or the people as he sees fit to do. And we'll get into that here in a little bit, but you can kind of see a picture of it, of something like this. Let's see here. So, my opinion. Okay, so there's countless movies and articles about the changes, like what we're seeing here. Future of humanity depends on us merging with machines. There's countless movies, articles, lectures, mass media on the topic. My opinion is it's going to start with prosthesis or prosthetics. To jumpstart humanity to this experience will be casualties of war or casualties of combat. Over in Iraq and Afghanistan, we put basically the blade of the plow into the earth to lay the groundwork for this technology. Civil War had 60,000 amputees. That made up for 3/4 of all surgeries ever performed during the Civil War. Take a look around. Are we on the verge of a civil war now? I think we're very close to it. That's when we'll be at our weakest, and that's when our enemies will move in. But I believe there's just something about prosthetics, being able to be better than the original arm you had. This will be much better. And that's the whole catchphrase of quote unquote, we're going to do it our way, is it'll be built better. My arm can do this now. Instead of only being able to lift 100 pounds, I can lift 400 pounds with my arm. Whatever the case is, but I believe it's going to start with prosthetics, and that's just my opinion. I want to put that in there in case that does happen. At least you know that that that's been mentioned here. So just as we saw the garden in the city above, the enemy wants to make us unrecognizable to the Father. So this is totally unrecognizable to what the Lord has created. And it's the same here. We have this beautiful garden again, completely unrecognizable here. And what do people do? They graft towards these places. Let's go to the park. Let's go to, to the forest, or let's get away to the mountains this weekend. At least me, I absolutely am not a city person at all. There's times I wouldn't mind going there, but I enjoy, if you look in the background here, I enjoy going to the mountains. That is, to me, I could spend a week out there and just have a blast. But anyway, unrecognizable. If you were to show somebody this, they'd be like, what the heck is this place? If they were just born, and they could see and comprehend, versus something that's beautiful and picturesque. It's the same here. Unrecognizable to something beautiful and natural. This is just horrific in my opinion. And not only that, how many times do computers do we need to update or change the software, or hey, this one's getting old, it's not fast enough anymore, or it gets it gets hacked, or now your password's compromised. Wouldn't that scare you to death if you had a computer infrastructure in your body that you're relying on somebody to upgrade you? Really, that's crazy to me. Crazy thought. I hate computers. I have to buy one like every 5 years because they just, they wear out. They're no longer efficient. And, I'm sure they'll have some selling tool where this is oh, it's, got the upgrades for the next 10,000 years, or fallen angels will show us and be on scene at this time and say, hey, yeah, we have all this software download, whatever you want, we can do, if you want to be an astronaut and explore space, or if you want to be, swim in the ocean, here's the virtual mask, put this on and you can swim in the ocean or whatever. It's just going to be ridiculous to me. Drastic differences, unrecognizable. I have a feeling that the fallen will be here when this big change occurs. The fallen have been the source of our destruction. Imagine for a moment them talking. We will give them food so they're weak in nutrients. They've provided all these things for us. Our bodies don't function. The fuel for our bodies now is absolutely disgusting. I go through not TikToks, but like reels every day and short videos. Yeah, I probably go through quite a few, but it's been direction of the Lord recently for me to do this because there's a lot of neat things being said. However, my algorithm is like nasty foods coming from places, and he's wanting me to save all this because it shows just what we're putting in our bodies and how absolutely disgusting it is. And just to tell you, I don't buy my meat from a grocery store. I buy it from a meat market where at least it's in a butcher shop and the animals are there, I buy, very cautious with what I eat. Now, I do eat some sugar and I like sugar in my coffee, but it's become so disgusting, the food that we're given. You have to be so careful with what you eat and how you eat and where you go to eat. I know me, I haven't had fast food in, oh gosh, 10 years, 8 years. But I know it's just, or Coke. I don't, none of that. It's just disgusting, guys, with what they're putting in our food. And what you're seeing, human teeth in McDonald's. It's just unbelievable. Gosh. So it makes us obese. It makes us sickly. It makes us weak, tired, high blood pressure, heart issues, diabetic. It just goes on. So the technology they're going to offer will be so appealing that it'll be a no-brainer to do, a no-brainer to take. But what people, sometimes I wonder, like, how do you stay heavenly focused? You focus on the promise. We're going to have new bodies. We're going to be out of this place soon. And you focus on the eternal. Like, this place is going to end. God said the earth will not make it. It's going to be remade. It's going to be redone. It tells us plainly in the Bible, I'll make a new heaven and a new earth. This is going to pass away. This is going to burn. This is not here. We're not meant to have longevity here. We shouldn't even want longevity here. But this is what they're going to offer. And of course, people without Christ who don't focus on the eternal or the spiritual will have a hard time. So a handheld device or an Apple Watch, Apple, those glasses, I don't know what they are, but I guess you can Google glasses. I don't know. They're not going to be enough. They'll want technology to be a part of them. Not something they have to go get a device for or recharge or get this, that, or the other thing. They will want technology to be a part of them. And that's where this comes into play. They want it to be a part. Why? Because it's efficient. They don't have to go, just like getting to the city from here. It's fast and efficient, okay, to get there. They're going to offer them shortcuts to enhancement and control them through the electrical nervous system, is my thought process on this. So the fourth industrial revolution, rapid technology advancement. We all heard of Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum. Part of this phase in the industrial change is the joining of technologies, artificial intelligence, gene editing to advanced robotics that blur the line between the physical, digital, and biological world. Blur the line between the physical, digital, and biological worlds. Changes. This is from This is metaverse technology and society that changes the ways human experience and know the world around them. That's going to be creating a false reality. Just like we talked about with the arcade, it's a false reality. Put in some money and take your mind off the world around you and be that pilot shooting asteroids or whatever the case is. False reality. So could the fourth industrial revolution be the fourth kingdom we see in Daniel 7? What is the menu for the fourth industrial revolution? This is the last kingdom before the reign of Jesus Christ on earth. Gene editing, artificial intelligence, and robotics. And Daniel sees four great beasts. The beasts which are four kings which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever. That's what I'm talking about. This fourth beast, fourth kingdom. Then we shall know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, teeth of iron, nails of brass. So this is something he has never seen, something he's totally new to him. Diverse, dreadful, teeth of iron, nails of brass. If he had never seen a human and a robot intermingled, this may be how he describes that, I would say. Diverse from all the other kingdoms. I have pictured below a modern rendition of a soldier. Quite a sight for Daniel, I'm sure. However, Daniel has seen helmets. Daniel has seen body armor. He's seen spears and swords and all that. But aside from the radio, the rifle, and ammunition, almost everything else this soldier has on can be explained pretty easily to Daniel. At the end of the chapter, Daniel explains he's very troubled and shaken by what he saw. Could this soldier, with all his equipment, give Daniel such a scare? Remember, all this equipment can easily be removed, and we have a normal human. So what I'm talking about is here, right? The helmet he's seen, he'd be like, wow, what is all this? What is this thing? This is a communication device. A rifle, yeah, that's pretty impressive. That would be hard to explain. A watch, probably hard to explain a little bit as well. But for the most part, it's a guy. But he sees something totally different. And I think, I couldn't find a really good picture here, but everything's integrated with this guy. Is this something he's seen? Is he seeing something so non-human that he can't really tell that it's a human at one point? Something to think about. So I've been looking to the Bible, and I reached a stopping point here a couple days ago, and I was like, I don't know where to go with this, Lord. I'm not sure what we're talking about, and that's the way it is with me. I have no idea. Sometimes I just kind of type, and one thing leads me to another. Well, I went back and I watched a couple videos here. This is from the Smoky Mountain Man. He talks about Achan's garment, AI and the Beast. This is another video he's done. Truth is Christ. This is a good video here. And then Zoran Azera with the Scarlet Thread is another good video. So anyway, I watched these and I was kind of trying to look for some inspiration. And so thank you, Smoky Mountain Man. You helped me finish this up. I think this is where he wanted me to go. So I looked up at Joshua 7. There's a city called Ai. Right away, what a name, right? Can't really, Ai. It's right there. So I started looking at this, and I've thought of this before. I've read this chapter about this state or this city before, the garment and everything else. And I was like, I know there's something here. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know why this garment was so important, why it was so evil. But here we go. The Lord has answered. So, first off, let's go to Ai. What does Ai mean according to the Bible? It means quite simply ruins, heap of ruins. So, real quick, if you don't know this story, there's a city that Joshua failed to conquer called Ai initially. Joshua and his men, I'm paraphrasing, so if I get numbers wrong, I'm sorry. They go to take this city. They end up losing 36 men. I think they took 3,000 there. They fight against these people at Ai. They lose. Joshua comes back, rents his clothes. Lord, why? Why did we lose? God tells him there's an accursed thing amongst the Israelites. Joshua's got to go find it. And so they do. It's in this guy's tent named Achan. He's got some silver, he's got some gold, and he's got a garment that he's buried in his tent in the earth. The Lord calls it a cursed thing. We'll get into that here in a minute. All right, so that's the premise. So I don't want to ruin that part yet, so we'll get back to that when they actually do defeat Ai. So Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, heap of ruins. Okay, well, what is ruins? Well, first off, it means heap of ruins, but it also means to bend or twist to the point of destruction. I think as it would apply to this study, you bend and twist until it's unrecognizable, which is then turned over for destruction, right? I mean, this is not going to get into heaven. It's bound for destruction. So, twisted, bended, in so much that it's unrecognizable. You've altered the original so much that now it's become something completely different and no longer intended what is it's intended to be. And that's the same with, the V's, our food, our water, all those things are changing us on the inside and altering God's creation. A little at first, a lot in the end. Okay. So this is where it becomes a problem. Now, is a man with a prosthetic doomed for hell? No, he's not. But that's the mindset. The enemy is doing that so that we want more. We want better. I don't have an arm, so I want something better. I want this, I want it better. It's not so much about healing, it's about altering who you are and why you're altering yourself. So heap of ruins is what Ai means, and to bend and twist. I think we get the point with Ai. Ai was beside Bethaven, a town called Bethaven, which is house of vanity. Idols. This is idol worship. This is nothingness. This is all vanity. What we're doing is we're dumping all this stuff into our bodies, and it means really nothing because it's all going to end. It's all going to be. There's no one focusing on the house of the Lord. There's no one focusing on the Spirit. There's no one focusing on what's my real eternal future versus this place that the Lord's going to burn and make a new one for us to actually live on. All right, so this is vanity. It's all vanity. All right. On the east side was Bethel. Bethel's interesting. Bethel simply means house of God. Well, however, it also has a meaning that conveys house of God having rulership over other houses or sons. So if we look at this, it sometimes merely denotes a domestic building, but mostly denotes the realm of authority over the house father. So are the Elohim going to have control over this? What did we talk about earlier? Yes, they will absolutely have control. Remember, constantly upgrading, constantly needing this, constantly that. It's not going to be a one and done. This is my gift to you, like it will be with the Lord. Okay? So, Where was I? Realm of authority of the house father. Okay. Just says kind of the same thing here. Interactions are governed by the father and executed by sons. So those will do the beast's bidding. Ruins. Ruins is the remains of a civilization's architecture. Collapse. Done. So that was once built up, but now this is ruined. Ruins. All right. Ruins. Collapsed architecture. Remains. If we compare the human body as we did earlier, you can see how AI will be the cause of ruins and desolation. The names during my tenure of study always point to the truth of the matter. That's why I included Bethel and the other one, Beth Haven. Okay. In Joshua 7, 1 through 9, he suffers a great defeat against Ai, which we talked about. He doesn't understand why. The Lord tells Joshua, Israel sinned against him. He states that there's an accursed thing among Israel and that they must get rid of it before the enemies before them shall fall. The Lord God calls the item an accursed thing. He does this quite a bit. Now, what I want you to think about, God doesn't say, now Achan takes gold and silver as well. God doesn't, not that it's not a sin, but God doesn't talk about the gold or the silver that he took. Yes, it was appointed for the temple. It should have been given to Joshua or whoever was collecting it, right? But he specifically calls this out. Get rid of that accursed thing. You have an accursed thing in the tribe. Get rid of it. So, what is the accursed thing? Curse. Doomed object. A net. A net. Either literally or figuratively. Usually a doomed object. Caught in a net, basically. Network. A group of communicating computers and peripherals known as hosts, which communicate data to other hosts by way of communication protocols with networking hardware. Remember, Tower of Babel, one language, one ruler, one thought process. The beast system, one world order, hive mind. The physical medium that supports information exchange includes wired media, like copper cables, fibers, optic fibers, radio frequency media. It's how they communicate. Does that look familiar? I'm sorry to keep scrolling, but I want you to see it. Does that look familiar? Network architecture. See, this is when I'm like, okay, Lord, now I know why you brought up architecture. Okay. Is the design of a computer network. It is the framework for the specification of a network's physical components and their functional organization and configurations. Operational principles and procedures as well as communication protocols are used. Network architecture. This accursed thing happened to be a Babylonian garment taken by a man named Achan. Now, Achan means serpent or troubler of Israel. Achan states that he has taken this garment and silver and gold. Although taking the gold and silver was wrong, and we talked about this, and punishable, I found it interesting the Lord only speaks of the accursed thing. Look at the scripture, guys. I took a lot of interest in this garment as it is singled out by God. Achan has hidden this garment in his tent, buried in the earth. Buried in the earth. Can that be body, as we talked about? Can this be tabernacle or temple, as we talked about? With the Holy Spirit, I took this to mean the garment was in the earth or soil of Achan in his temple. Garments in the Bible often symbolize various spiritual and moral concepts. Some scripture there. As I looked at articles concerning this garment, one thing caught my attention. The author stated since Achan found this garment among a hefty sum of gold and silver, that this garment must also be highly valued and sought after. What does Babylon represent? Babylon at its core represents man's efforts to replace God with himself. In other words, man becoming God. Remember this photo? Yeah, I think so. I think our accursed thing had everything to do with this. Cloth of gold or gold cloth is fabric woven with gold wrapped and spun welt, referred to as spirally spun gold stripped. In most cases, the core yarn is silk wrapped in a band strip of high content gold. In rare instances, fine linen and wool have been used as the core. Gold work is the art of embroidery using metal threads, particularly prized for the way light plays upon it. The term gold work is often used when the threads are imitation gold, silver, or copper. The metal wires used to make threads never been entirely of gold. They've always been gold coated silver or cheaper metals. I think what this cloth was a garment with metallic threads that went through it. Garment, like her face, the flesh, with metallic threads. Manufactured fibers composed of metal, metallic alloys, plastic-coated metal, metal-coated plastic, or core completely covered by metal. Gold, silver fibers have been used since ancient times as yarn or fabric decoration. More recently, aluminum, blah, blah, blah. We have to wear this flesh as a garment in this world. But did you know they are experimenting with metallic threads in our bodies to make them better? You see, God used Achan's sin to teach us and to show us a great sin of idolatry that is coming. Thank him for the truth. These are some articles that are below here, and I'll put this on the Google Drive for you to look at. But essentially, they've been looking at gold to connect to the nerves in our bodies. Some people have heart of gold, so why not nerves of gold? In the future, it may be possible to use this precious metal in soft interfaces to connect electronics to the nervous system for medical purposes. Such technology could be used to alleviate conditions such as epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, paralysis, and chronic pain. However, creating an interface where electronics can meet the brain or other parts of the nervous system poses special challenges. I wonder if the fallen angels will help us get over those challenges. Gold nanoparticles, silver nanoparticles, emerging as promising tools in the application of treating neurodegenerative disease. Thanks to their unique properties, these nanoparticles can be used in various purposes in the field of medicine. They overcome the blood-brain barrier. God bless you guys. Take care. I don't know if there's going to be another part. We'll see. Take care.